What is everybody? Welcome to Truth and Transparency, deep diving the batch number 2. So on September the 3rd, 2025, the court issued an order seeking the parties' position regarding the unsealing of the second set of documents. So we're going to spend a lot of time on one of these documents, which is the list of exhibits. And I'm choosing to start with that first, even though it's not technically like in the order of going from number 44 to whatever number we got here, like 87, 88, something like that. 90. And for the most part, everything is being unsealed, with the exception of anything talking about the alt perps and the leak. So I'm going to come out swinging right off the bat. I went through talking about this lovely 28-page list of exhibits. And it is divided up into 4 sections. Series 1 is photographs that they were expecting the state would use to show to the jury, okay, and to be able to walk the jury through basically when the crime scene team is getting there and all the photographs that they took. And so that's series 1, phase 1. Then the second portion, and when I talk about photographs, it's not just the crime scene, it's any major phase of this investigation, going and being over at the defendant's apartment, car, when he was arrested, so his parents' place. Then you get the next set of the exhibits that focus on series 2 is the audio and video exhibits. Okay, that would be phase 2. So everything that's in that section. And then series 3 is the documents / maps / presentations. And then the section 4 is physical evidence. And there we go. Okay, so series 1 with the photographs. There's a couple of things that I noticed, and I just want to point them out. So what I went back and did is Idaho State Police, they put out their dumps of like the pictures that they wanted to give us so far. So for example, remember all these pics? Okay. So what I kind of was going through is I went through and noted some of the pics that I felt which photographs they were referring to. And so I made mental notes of that. For example, the 1122 King Road front exterior of residence. It's going to be something like this. Potentially could be with the car's either there or the car's not there. The rear of the residence, then they're saying like the main floor towards the west bedroom, the main floor west bedroom, Xana, and then the main floor west bedroom, picture of Ethan. Third floor east bedroom, so top Kaylee and Maddie. And then a third floor picture of the bedroom, Kaylee and Maddie again, close up. Then the main floor kitchen sliding door to show that it was open. I believe that they were going to use some of these pictures in their opening statements, the way that this kind of goes at the beginning. So I'll, if you actually think about it, to show the front exterior of the residence like this, then to show the rear exterior of the residence, then the main floor toward the west bedroom to say where people were, That would have been where Bethany was. Or I'm sorry, that they're considering the main floor, obviously floor 2. So the main floor, and then showing that's where Ethan and Xana were, and then the third floor, that's where Maddie and Kaylee were, and then they come back down for Exhibit 8, which is the main floor kitchen sliding door to show that it was open. Exhibit 9, the third floor west bedroom, showing Murphy on the bed. Now I want to show you guys that they have to go all the way into Bates pages 13,847 to get that picture, because it's not actually a picture that they took from a photograph, like a camera. They actually have to use one of the guys' body cams, if you remember. And that's how they get this still image to show that Murphy was on the bed at first, and then Murphy moved to underneath the desk. Then they actually put in Exhibit 10 here. Interesting to me that they want to show the third floor west bedroom where the kennel was. Okay. So we find out here in this exhibit that the kennel is in Kaylee's room. There's a kennel in there. No mention, though, of like a dog, bowl, or water or anything like that. So next we go to the third floor west bedroom, front and west side, the west yard, north side of the front door entryway, front door towards the west. So what I went ahead and I did is I'm going to put it in a way that we've all seen these pictures, okay? In order for the state to comply with, you're not going to do, you're not going to show repetitive things, okay? So the first page is, if you're reading these descriptions, and I'm going to put this back up. My question is would the jury ever get to see these 28 pages? Okay. So again, these are here ready for the state to use for whatever person they have up on the stand. So for example, ISP Talbot, who was the crime scene lead investigator. He's the one that he arrives there on one of the body cams. You can see him getting there. He's one of the first ones to arrive, shakes their hands, and then he actually gets there before Darren Gilbertson gets there. And so I believe that he would have been on the stand walking the jury through the photographs that were taken, and to when he would be identifying what he wants to have marked, swab, things like that. But then he also has his evidence technicians who were taking the photographs. So what I did is I pulled back up Talbot's report, and it's report 32. Sorry, bear with me. My throat's been acting wild. I wanted to let it rest a little bit today. So if you go to, he types up this report on December 6th, by the way, and it's report 32. And on page 3 of 7, I kind of wanted to start where he started, which was, at about 5 p.m. after a search warrant was signed, that's when he gets to go in there. And I entered the scene and I conducted a walkthrough. As we entered the front north-facing first floor door, I observed the following. And so then he's writing down what he observed. And so something that I noticed, and so the best way that I want to point this out is from a defensive standpoint, because I think that for the majority of people, it's like that watch my channel, We went through all the pictures. They could pick whatever they wanted, obviously, to put together to show the jury. Then there's going to be tons of pictures that we haven't seen because we're not allowed to see those. They're going to be either put in the like they may put out new photographs, and they will because they're going to put out Dylan's whole room is not getting redacted this time. Bethany's whole room is not getting redacted. The stuff that they did before, like we're even going to be able to see into the rooms. We're just not going to be able to see the victims and then the blood that's like immediately on them. Okay. So what I noticed though, in none of these pictures, is there any close-ups, okay, of, for example, well, I'm going to start here. I went through Talbot's whole report. Nowhere in his report does he talk about lights being on and off. Okay, that to me is really, really important. If you want to sit here and say that a guy was circling around, waiting, why did this guy go in at the time that he went in? Oh, because all the lights were off at that point. Well, that's not true. So the first thing I want to point out, and this isn't black and white, but I can actually put it up on the screen to show you guys the version of the color copy. So the first thing I would be pointing out on cross of Detective Talbot is, I noticed in your report you didn't write down what the lighting situation was in the house. Okay. Did you talk to the first responding officers and ask them if they had turned on any lights? What's your answer to that? Did you ask them if they touched anything when they were in the house? Okay. So, for example, we have MPD's photographs and we have ISP's photographs, remember? But we're going to go ahead and use Talbot's photographs, which we can still show that there's a big problem. So that's the front of the house. And literally every, with this first one, if you can see here, the top floor, there's on the left two windows, there's no lights on. Okay. Then, whoopsies. Then you have, well, obviously the outdoor lights are on, but no lights are on pretty much in the bottom floor, as you can kind of tell. Lighting up in the left living room. And then you can't really tell if it's just a reflection or if Xana's light is on. But no fear, we have something else we're going to use. So let's go to, I'm going to go in a certain order. I think it's 199. Okay, perfect. Lana, look at you go. Okay. So here we go. Look at all those lights on. Now, were those lights on when you arrived? And we're going to talk about these lights. So what is the left arrow all the way third floor top? What is that room? And do you know if that light was on or off? Okay. And in the middle of the top third floor, what room is that? And that's actually where the stairs are. And why it looks orange is because it's the orange lights that are on that are reflecting off. That's why it looks like that. Just so you guys know. And then all the way to the right, what do we got? And then second floor, left side, that's your living room. And then all the way on the right side, second floor, that's Xana's bedroom. And then you have two outside lights underneath. One's under the 1122. And then over here, lights are on both rooms on the first floor. Okay, great. So also, did you take a picture? Was your flash on or off? Okay, did you take a picture with this, like with the flash on, just so we could see like what it looked like? Is this lighting it up at all extra? And I think he would say no. Okay. But next is then you would go to the backyard, which I have as, let's see. Okay. Well, actually, we'll go from front to So then I would ask Mr. Talbot these questions. Okay, you guys didn't touch anything, right? Perfect. So we'll go here. Outside lights are on here. Kitchen lights are on. That's part of the kitchen. No light on here. This is the stairwell as well. And it has like an orange tint to it. And then that's Maddie's room. And then this would be Dylan's room. So when you first walk in the front door, you have this light on right here. What switch inside, if you're inside the house and you walk through the door, what light switch controls that light? And so I'm going to go back to, then I would show this, and I would say the light switches that are right when you walk into the left, okay, were those up or down? And both of them, they were up. Everything was up. Okay, and then this would be on the same level. This is the door that you couldn't get into. And then right here, there's a light switch that's right outside of Bethany's door. And is that light switch up or down? Okay. And it's up, just so we're clear. And then you actually open up Bethany's room, and you actually go in her room. And this would be in her room, right off to the left. There's a little closet there. And this light switch, this was down, correct? Do you know if this light switch controls this closet that's in Bethany's room? Okay. Next, when going upstairs to the next level, okay, this is your room. And in the main room, was there an overhead light with like a fan? Okay, so you have whatever you want to refer to these lights as. We're just going to call them, I mean, I would call them Christmas lights, but white Christmas lights. That's just me. I'm sure they have another name for them. But were these lights on? Yes. And now where and how do you turn these on and off? Where is the light switch for this? So what I mean by that is some walls, if you plug stuff into a wall, your light switch can actually control that. For this house, I don't know how it was set up, but if you actually zoom in all the way, there's a couple different pictures you can do it. And you're going to see that there's obviously cords being strung and rung somewhere, and it's plugged in. So you have the TV on, you have these Christmas lights basically on. And from downstairs walking up, those were all pushed up, okay? Your TV's on. Then let's go over here to this portion of the wall, and you have your good vibes sign. That's on and lit up, correct? Okay. And if you zoom in to this light switch here, is that up or down? And I'll zoom in so you guys can see. Okay, it's down. Now, we're going to go back over to this lovely black and white, or color rather. And okay. See right here? That's what's controlling your lights. So the question would be is now, in order for those to shut off, do you have to go over and actually unplug them from the wall? Okay. Or are they controlled by a light switch? Just a simple question. You'd want to know this. And I would be asking if they do know this. You guys can go and look through all of the state's exhibits and nowhere were they planning on showing any of the light switches in this house, which I think is interesting. And I would hope that the defense would be taking advantage of that. So next, you would look at, oopsies, yeah, this way. So right here, switch down. So that can't possibly be to control that wall. Next, over here, you'd want to point out down here on the bottom. If you zoom in, everything's being plugged in over here underneath the sign that says good vibes. Whoa. Sorry. Right over here. And they have extension cords. Okay. So not only do you have the good vibes, but then you have the Christmas lights again that go around the bar, like a serving bar tray, whatever. But if you can see, this needs to actually plug in. There's all the cords, runs it up. So we have to continue to look. So we're going to keep going. We'll come back to all of this. Okay, this angle. Perfect. Back out a little bit. You took this picture at night. It was like dark outside, right? Okay. And this is how lit up this room was? Okay. So you would see that there was a table in your way, right? It would be pitch black that you wouldn't be able to see that, right? Okay. And that was left there. That's MPD's. Yep. Okay. So that wouldn't be in your way either, correct? Okay. We'll come back to that. But now we keep going, keep going. All right. Now here, when this picture was taken, you were standing inside Dylan's bedroom, correct? Yes. And did you ever find out, or anybody ever ask why this stool was right here? Is that normal? Is it always there? Now let's look for those light switches. So here, perfect. Over here to the left, light switches down, right? But I'm going to show something here. And then this is the pantry or whatever you want to call it, closet. And then kitchen. There's no light switch there, right? Okay, so that's not an option. Now, all these kitchen lights were on. And that would be the ones that are over the sink, over all the cabinets. And then you have the outdoor lights on. And then over here on this wall, there's a light switch, right? And that light switch is up, correct? Okay. And you guys didn't touch that, right? Oh gosh, what's happening over here? And then, and now do you know from personal knowledge, does that control the light in the kitchen that's over top? Okay. Then we have another light source in the kitchen, right? We have what I call Christmas lights again, right? Perfect. Now these lights, how are they turned on and off? Well, let's check it out. Right down here. Oh, I go one more. Oh, these are the outdoor window ones. Hold on. They're plugged in at the bottom. To the left. So how are these lights plugged in? How do you turn them off? How you just plug in, plug out on the bottom over there? Did you ask if these were on 11/13 when they went to bed? Did the roommates? Did they? The roommates never went upstairs. So this everything that's upstairs should have been left how it was from the night of 11/12 going into 13 because the roommates never went back upstairs. Correct. And then did you ask Hunter Johnson if he touched any light switches? No. Okay. So everything would have been left the way that they went to bed, right? Perfect. So, oh, wait here. Now let's go to the staircase. Let's look at first picture here. Light switch up or down? Well, it's down, but the lights are on, right? Okay. So then that's down. You can see lights on and the light up here on. But that's down, right? Right. There's one right there. Is that up or down? I really can't tell from that angle. Okay, we'll get you another one. Don't worry. What are these lights? Orange lights. Those are on, right? They were on. How are they on? Are they plugged into the wall? Mm-hmm. So in order for them to be turned off, you have to unplug them. Yep. So those are lit up. And so I want everybody to see here, up, it's down. Oh, I have the photo that shows that it's, here we go. It's the one that's taken by Dylan's bedroom. Take a look at this. Did you test any of this stuff? I'd be asking a million questions about the lights. Because basically when we come to it, when it's all said and done, right here, down. This is to go upstairs. Now, but some of these are out of order, like they're out of order. Okay. So my question is if both of those light switches are down, okay, how are the lights on? I don't know about you guys, but how many houses do you guys have where at the bottom of your stairs you have a light switch and at the top of your stairs you have a light switch, and depending on, it can get all messed up where your top one's down but the bottom one's up. But have you ever had it where it's both of them are down and the lights are on? Exactly. Go check it out. Anyways, after you figure it all out, right? All these lights were on. Literally every single light was on in this house. Okay. I noticed that none of the pictures that the prosecution showed you focus on the lights. Isn't that right, detective? That's correct. I was not asked a single question about the lights. Okay. So this house wasn't every light's on because you guys didn't turn them on. MPD, they're wearing body cams. They're not flicking on and off lights, right? Okay. I can't tell you what MPD did. Okay, great. Good. Next. If you literally go through this whole list, all of it, all these pictures that they'd want to show, that they were planning on showing, there is not a single one that focuses on the lighting in this house. Nothing. They don't want to talk about it. Okay, next. Again, Talbot would be walking them through all of this because that's what he did, and determining what he was going to focus on. So you'd ask Detective Talbot, I noticed that one of the first things that you noticed when walking through the house was, well, first of all, how tall are you, Detective Talbot? You made a mention that on the north wall of the hallway near the bedroom door, there appeared to be a red-colored transfer mark at approximately my shoulder height. Well, did you end up ever measuring that to see how tall your shoulder is? I'm just curious. But you noted that there was hair. I noticed that there was no pictures of any hair on any walls with blood that they went through. And yet one of the first things you noticed is that there appeared to be, exiting the bedroom and walking west, there wasn't anything visible of interest in the bathroom, and that was the second floor bathroom. Outside the bathroom door, there appeared to be small drops of red liquid near the baseboard, a small smear of red-colored liquid on the south wall, and a hair stuck to the wall. So let's take a look at the pictures that you testified to about hair. Where's this hair? You noted in your report, and it was letter D. It was one of the first things. So I'm curious, did the prosecution talk about that with you on direct? Show any pictures of hair? Let's see. I'm all the way down to exhibit 186. So 186 pictures and nothing to do with hair, right? Okay. Let's see. Now I'm through. Okay. 282 pictures. Any hair pictures? Do you know if there was hair found in that house that you guys tested? Okay, here we go. Oh, wait, that's at Bryan's apartment. We get into the 300s, and that's where they take a hair. The first time I see the word hair in an exhibit is exhibit S1 State Exhibit 1 299, 1630 Northeast Valley, hair strand from computer pad from primary bedroom. And that would be Bryan Kohberger's house or apartment, right? Yes. Okay. So no hair pictures that the prosecution was going to show in exhibits 1 through 300 that could possibly have come up, right? That's correct. I did not testify to any hair pictures. Okay. Now let's talk about the Jack in the Box. These would be exhibits, I think, 242 to 248. These ones right here. Well, did you testify to any pictures that had to do with blood in the kitchen sink on direct? No, I did not. They didn't put up any pictures of that? Okay. Were you aware that there was allegedly blood in the kitchen sink that was found by Corbin Smith, and he relayed that and he took pictures of them? Did you look at the MPD pictures that they took? So between States Exhibits S1 dash all the way to Bryan Kohberger's apartment, are there any pictures of the kitchen sink that you testified to? No. No. Okay. So Anne would have to be ready to have this stuff to show, what this is. Do you notice how none of the pictures from 1 through 300 talk about and are going to explain? Unless they're going to use some of these Jack in the Box ones to talk about the chemicals that they use. So if you have this is just one of the most recent DOP drops, but if you go through 1 through 300, now let's talk about the Jack in the Box. Okay. When did you find out that there was a DoorDash order? You went into the house how many different times? I have you guys going there on 11/13, 11/14, 11/17, 18, 19. So S1242 says third floor, 243, says overview of the kitchen, and the Jack in the Box bag is on the table. It says box bag table south wall. But the Jack in the Box started on the kitchen's counter, right? So I don't know. I'm not familiar. Can you dust? Did they say, hey, we should see if there's anything on that bag? Because you found out that it was, I don't know, sent by a DoorDash driver. Is there anything you can even do with that? I don't know. You guys are the experts. I want to know about that. Was there any Jack in the Box food in the bedroom? Notice that there was no pictures taken of any food that was in the bedroom. Was there any crumbs found? If you eat in your bed, you can have crumbs. So was there any sign of Jack in the Box being ate in the bedroom? So you don't know And a little birdie told me that Ethan didn't eat any of the food, and that only Xana did. And so it was, if you were to ever see that, the contents of the autopsies, it would show that Xana had ate the Jack in the Box, and Ethan did not. So, so you have the bag there. You have the French fries. If you wanted to, let's say that Ethan had passed out and he went to sleep, but let's say Dylan was still up. Hey, Ethan's not eating this. Do you want this? Would it be relevant? I think it'd be relevant for us, but would it be relevant to find out if anybody else had ate that food? Since there was no sign of forced entry, that the people that actually killed them, they could have known, and they were partying with them and hanging out with them. And so therefore, hey, Ethan's not going to have any of this food because he's passed out. So here, do you want some? Here, do you want to eat this? I mean, how much food was ordered? Xana just went to town. Xana's pretty small. So I'm curious if there was any sign of Xana eating any of that food in the bedroom. Reason being, obviously, because if she didn't eat any of her food in the bedroom and she was eating it out in the kitchen or the living room, all the lights are on in the house, which would make more sense that nobody's asleep. Nobody was going to sleep. Xana had just literally got her food. We see Molly, 4:00. Okay. And if there's no sign of eating in the bedroom, that means you would have been eating in the main living room or in the kitchen, or just like walking around and like eating because like you're a college kid drunk and like fucking, laughing and being silly. So how many people out there think that it would be important, or you would want to know, if Xana was just got her food and went straight to her bedroom, and it was just like, because you have to go back to this. Maddie and Dylan never saw Ethan and Xana come home that night, never hung out with them, nothing. But what if you can show that Dylan's DNA is, or Bethany's DNA is on the bag, is on the French fries? I mean, I think it's extremely important. They kept on going back and forth to this house to gather more evidence. Like they kept going, like they went obviously the 13th, but then they go back on the 14th. They go back on the 16th, 17th, 19th. Then 20 something. So they were going to show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pictures they were planning. 7 pictures that they were planning to show about this DoorDash, about the Jack in the Box. And I think that they were going to show for a couple of different reasons. The most important reason is to show when they had to move stuff and why something would be like, here it was originally, and then we move it over here. because they were moving things, right? Um, but you never thought to like all that food's almost basically gone, just a couple fries left. Um, why would you need 7 pictures of that? Jack in the Box bag, table south wall. A close up of Jack in the Box bag on table to show that it's Xana's, I guess. To show Xana's name on it. Who knows? Jack in the Box on kitchen counter. Jack in the Box with contents. Jack in the Box with contents on counter. Kitchen microwave. Kitchen. Jack in the Box fries on microwave. Okay. All right. So next. Marker 1. Breaker 19. This is outside. And this is the first thing that they took with the markers. I'd be arguing if this was a van or if this was a boot. I'd be arguing, why is the cleaning products not in the main area where we saw Keely on the TikTok go and get, why is Bethany's bedroom in that closet down in her room have the vacuum, has the paper towels? That I've lived with 6 girls in college. Okay. None of my roommates' bedrooms closet held the cleaning products. Just saying. It's bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre. Normally things are scary when it's dark in a house. Every single light was on in that house to be like opening up the door, and there's no reason that people wouldn't have been seen. There's no reason that Dylan wouldn't have been seen if she's coming out 3 different times. Okay. Opening, closing, opening, closing, opening, closing. Just gets up to just go locks the door the first time. Very bizarre. They were planning on showing. That's that downstairs again. Yeah, the day that my roommate's room closet had this in it. Yeah, no. Okay. So nobody would be driving around this house and saying, okay, hey, all the lights are off. I'm going to go in now. Like, that's what you'd want to be pushing, is that wouldn't be a reason that somebody's circling because they're waiting for people to go to bed. How would you know people are in bed? Well, the number one way to do that is to do what? Lights. Well, nobody would ever think that these people were sleeping with every single light on that house on. Right? Right. Oh, I'd be asking if they found any crumbs going upstairs all the way to the 3rd floor. If she was eating and holding her food and she heard something, meaning Xana, and she went up to the 3rd floor, was there any any crumbs? Where was she walking all over with this Jack in the Box? Bizarre. Okay. I would show this view. And I would show And I would say, okay, where were you standing when you took this photo? Right? I was standing like just a little bit outside of Dylan's room. Okay. And then there's another angle where you're standing and it's like in it. Okay. I would show this then too. So I would say, can you see the slider? No. Okay. I would show this then. All right. You're standing pretty much in front of the slider, correct? At an angle, right? Can you see Dylan's door? No. And that's where the lights plug in, right? Yeah. And that's plugged in. Okay. So the kitchen light's on, those lights are on, and you're standing right in front of the slider, correct? Okay. And so you can't see Dylan's door, right? Perfect. Nope, I can't. Okay. So if somebody's leaving, was he walking backwards? For her to see the eyebrows. Okay. I'm walking backwards. I'm just if I'm leaving, if my path of travel is to leave from here and to walk out, right? And go out the slider. Am I walking backwards? When I was walking forward and I just decided to look back. At the same time that I looked back, Dylan just popping her head out. Did you swab any of this for DNA? This stool here? Who could have potentially moved this stool? There's no pictures talking about the stool out of the first from 1 to all the way down. Nothing about that stool. Okay. And so where are you standing when you took this picture? Coming from the living room. Perfect. Let's talk about that. Coming from the living room, right? So Dylan first went to sleep where? On the couch. You testified to an exhibit, or one of your cohorts did. There's a text and pictures taken with a Lakin girl, and they're on the couch. And in the one picture, Dylan is sleeping, and she has the blanket over her head, and she's sleeping on the couch, right? And isn't it true that Bethany said that it was only her, Kaylee, and Maddie that went upstairs? She never mentions that Dylan came upstairs when they got home, right? She never tells you that, right? So in order to see the sliding door there, you get that good angle to peek out if you are coming from the living room. Is that correct? Yeah, or I mean, you could come out of the bedroom and like go towards the living room, go into the living room, right? Look around over there, and then come back from that area, and that's where you could see somebody. Yeah. But this is that angle that gets you that slider, but it doesn't get you the part where they're leaving. You only get like this side. You don't get to see like the other part of it. You'd have to physically be past where, like probably where this stool is to see that. So let me get this straight. Dylan opens the door on 3 different occasions and manages to miss the killer. Then on the 4th occasion, she manages to come out of her room, at least in some capacity, whether it's going straight towards the kitchen or she goes to the living room first and then she comes back. And then she's able to see him. She knows that he sees her. And then in the one interview, she says that she didn't know if he went out the slider or not because she ran downstairs. No, like, let's think about this. Doesn't it make sense that if you did see somebody right away that you'd run downstairs with a mask and then you would go lock yourself in the room? You know, you'd go downstairs. It makes sense to me that I wouldn't run right into my bedroom right there, which is so close to where that person is. Like, I'd be running the opposite way as far as I could. But she said that she didn't know if he closed the door behind him or not because she had ran and went downstairs. Well, 2 things can't be true because in another interview, she says that she, after seeing him, she went back into her room and she immediately closed the door, locked the door, and that was all she said. So which is true? Did she go back in her room, close the door, and lock it, or did she immediately run downstairs? And that's how she doesn't know if they closed the slider or not. Now, and in Dylan's interview, she said that she knew that it was Kaylee and Murphy and they were dancing in the living room to music. She knew it was them because she heard Murphy and she heard Kaylee. But she also says in a weird way that then they're going to go, you know, Kaylee, something to the effect of it's 4:00 and Kaylee was going to bed. And so I said, yeah, I should go to bed too. Do you guys recall that? Yes. Okay. So doesn't it make sense that she's out in the living room, that's how she would have saw Kaylee and Murphy, and then they go upstairs and she knows that the dog and Kaylee were dancing because she saw them dancing. And then, okay, she's going to bed. So, okay, now I'm going to go to bed because it's 4:00. Okay, this is the story, but. And so when Kaylee decides she's going to go to bed, Kaylee, who's responsible, okay, Kaylee, who go look at the way that the 3rd floor is all nice and tidy, okay? This would mean that Kaylee's up. Xana just got a DoorDash. That means Kaylee and Xana would have been talking to each other, right? Right. And none of Kaylee's like, hey, I'm going to go up and I'm leaving every single light on in this house. Unless I'm going to go to bed, I'm going to go upstairs because I'm done hanging out, but you guys clearly aren't. And that's why every light is still on in the house. Xana's waiting for her DoorDash, right? Right? Dylan's not ready to go to bed. But Kaylee, she's going upstairs and going to sleep. So she's done. And the reason that she thought it was Kaylee coming down the stairs and she never saying that it could be Xana is because she can't say that it's Xana. Because she's supposed to be asleep and in her room and not even knowing that Xana's home. But Dylan didn't think all of this shit through. Just like a 19-year-old who's just not Just like when she says, "Oh, there's probably not going to be anything of the killer's DNA because we deep cleaned the house last week, for Parents' Weekend or whatever." What? That would have nothing to do with it. But that's like her brain set is like, and why would you even say that? How are you in college to even make that comment? Like, that's not even remotely, like, screw if there's a murder or not. That statement is just so off for someone who's going to college and trying to become more educated to say. I'm sorry. It's just that it's bad. It's that bad. Oh my God. Well, you're probably not going to find any the killer's DNA because we just deep cleaned the house for Parents' Weekend. What? Well, when was Parents' Weekend? Oh, like last week. Oh, so you cleaned like last week? And now people were in the house after that, right? It's very simple. Who cleaned up the van shoe print? We didn't find that at first. How did you not find that at first? I was looking through this though. Okay. Find me in the first 300 pages where they want to point out the picture of this shoe print. Anybody have gone through this? I don't know how many times, but there is no picture that they were planning on showing that shows the latent shoe print. Anybody go through all of these yet? Don't you think that's telling? They use that in the probable cause. But don't you think Anne's going to use it? I would be using it. I'd be saying, why wasn't this found right away? Literally looking through all of this stuff. Where is the picture for that as one of your exhibits to show the jury? To bolster Dylan's, account. To bolster Dylan's account. Now, since you're not going to use it, I'm going to use it, right? As if you're defending somebody, I'm going to use it and I'm going to say, okay, well, did you guys have a no shoe policy in the house? Could you wear shoes? Did you have to take your shoes off? No, we didn't have a no shoe policy in the house. There's no carpet, right? All hardwood floors throughout or whatever the hell this shit is. Yep. So, okay. So you guys just, when you had friends come over, did they have to take their shoes off? No. Okay. So across the board, you guys wore your shoes. So you would establish that with people. And then you're going to establish the fact that if you had to go to the lengths of getting a latent print, one would have to ask themselves why. And if you're saying that Bryan Kohberger was only in there for, I don't know, a minute to 2 minutes to commit this horrific act, which we're gonna get to when we get to the autopsy. So this is my trigger warning. Oh, found it. Knox gets it 538. 1122 King Road, item 5, hair, south side, second floor, half wall between V and W. Got it. Okay, let's talk about that. They were never going to show that. South kitchen window swab for DNA markers 7, 8, and 9. Not Bryan's. Item 5 hair, not Bryan's. Footprint outside, second floor, east bedroom. Close up. Lift from second floor, west bedroom floor. Close up. Right there. That's how they're labeling it. Lift from second floor, west bedroom floor. Marker L. That would be over by Xana's. Lift from second floor, west bedroom floor. Close up. That's over by Xana's. That's got to be anything by the east. West bedroom door, second floor, hairs. Okay, let's talk about this trash pull. What I believe is the trash pull. All right. The black polar penguin glove in front of residence. That can be found on Bates page 1943 and 1946. Or they're just like the numbers of the actual order of photos. I have an issue with that. The issue with that is that would have been before Payne's findings. That's way too, that's like super early. So that doesn't make sense. I would love to know more about States Exhibit 559 and S1559 and S1560. Those Bates pages / disc number, that's way too early in the roll. Let's take a look. I have an issue with that. I would love to know more about that. See footprint outside, second floor, east bedroom. 4831. See 4825, east bedroom. What are the pictures in between 25 and 31? Again, I'm going to tell you what it is. It's duplicates of all of that stuff, and they're not going to be using them because they don't need all of them. They just have to have a couple, you know? They're not showing them every angle. But look at where this falls, all the way down here in almost to the 600s. They have 600 items before they get to this big, what's supposed to be bombshell. It's not a bombshell. One-legged man. Just like Charlie Kirk's one prosthetic arm. Okay, let's take a look here. They took a still shot of Kohberger at 4:11 in the morning on 12/27/2022. See that? Now either that's from body cam or it's an actual photograph. See that 4:11 a.m. Is this when he went for a run? This is Is this when he was what? They're saying he was placing trash places? Because if that was the case, look at where these addresses are though. See, 119. I'm gonna zoom in. So see how it says Indian Mountain Lake? That means it's like inside his development. See this though? It says Pennsylvania. So I think he was he outside of the development? But then 4 black garbage bags from 119 Lamson in back of vehicle. You see that? Like, what? I thought you guys just took it from their I thought it was just taken from the curb. Okay, Indian Mountain Lake. Screenshot of 119 Lamson Gate record for 12/16/2022. A screenshot. Indian Mountain Lake, screenshot of Bryan Kohberger on 12/16/2022 facing forward. So like he's like, is he like running? He's facing forward, he's walking. This would be surveillance. This is surveillance cameras. Indian Mountain Lake is their little area that's gated in, and I was looking all around, and if he was in a certain area, screenshot of Bryan Kohberger on 12/16 facing window, and it's like facing forward. So I'm like, okay, he's in his car, and he's like, looks like he's traveling out, you know. But and then are you trying to sit here and tell me that he had trash, 4 black garbage bags from 119 Lambs in back of vehicle? Now, was it in whose vehicle? Was it in the police cruiser's vehicle? Okay. But look at the order of this. When did they take these? So let's look at the numbers over here. Look at, ready? See in the 900s for 12/16, the 900s. Do you see 119 Lamson in back of vehicle, the garbage? You see how they're in the 6,000s? I'm going to show you something even crazier. Yeah, fucking idiots. Okay, so let's back it up a little bit. Remember when Bill Thompson did not want the Bates numbers? He wanted all the Bates numbers to be redacted. Do you guys remember? And I was like, you guys have no idea how important it is that the Bates numbers / discs / however they're identifying stuff from that discovery. we need to have that. Remember how Bill Thompson, he wanted that to be redacted. He was asking for no Bates numbers. And I said, fuck you, Bill. Because if somebody knows what they're doing, who's going to fucking deep dive the shit out of this, right? Someone like yours truly. Okay, guys? I believe that Bryan Kohberger could potentially get out of prison after I saw with what they were able to do with Scott Peterson shit from the Los Angeles Innocence Project, okay? But there's 2 things to why I'm saying this. If you ever think that I would want to help a killer go free, you're out of your fucking mind. No. But I know for a fact that this is all lies onto how they got to him to be able to arrest him, right? And I have a problem with that. And that's always been my fight against this shit, is that stop fucking around. Stop fucking doing this. You know? And then the guy goes and fucking says, I want to plead guilty to four brutal. Brutal. I mean, this reading this stuff, like this isn't it's wild. Hold on, let's look at this. I want to show you these numbers that are in the 6,000s. There we go. Let me finish doing this. When we turn the page over, the tables with trash overview, okay? So here. Bag 1 contents 3 bags total. 2, 3, 7, 5, 7, like the 7,500s, okay? Pennsylvania trash bag 2B. Contents from bag 2B, 3 Q-tips. Exterior front. Garage corner. 6, 8. 6, 7, 6, 8, 6, 6. Now these were for the 4 garbage bags is 6697. So between 6697 and you get to like 7530, so 66. I mean, that's close to 1,000. It's like eight or 900, depending on if they're counting these as, since they're all photographs. I'm just curious if this is in order, like versus Bates pages is where you can find them in the discovery. Everything that you're turning over to the defense, you're labeling, and so it's like in order. I would think that all that stuff would be really close to each other. How about this? The still shot of Kohberger at 4:11 on 12/27 is after the gathering of the garbage. If you go numerically, see the 4:11, 12/27, see 6722, see it's 6697. All of these are before 6722. They said that they took the trash on 12/27 and that they were able to then get it to wherever the fuck they got it, and that they knew on 12/28. You know how crazy that is? So let's go back and let's look and see when on 12/27, what was the day of the week that day? You know how like Christmas usually like fucks up all your shit? At least it does for us. When we have holidays, it messes with our when we get our garbage picked up. Everything gets pushed back a day or whatever. Okay. So let's take a look and see what day of the week was the 27th in 2022. Tuesday. Tuesday. So Christmas falls on a Sunday that year. I remember it was just freezing. It was so freezing here. Um, so he takes a picture of Bryan at 4:11. They get a still image of Bryan at 4:11 a.m. on 12:27, and of which they're trying to say that he was putting garbage in other people's garbage bags. Okay, and then they are able to go without anybody noticing this. Take 4 trash bags. And how they did this, though, is they had the garbage people actually just take the garbage, but then just give it to the police. Are you guys aware of this? So that's my understanding, is that the police had already coordinated with the garbage collectors. Okay. Well, I don't know where I live. I don't, they just come, they scoop it up, not in, like, there's nobody that gets out of the vehicle. They have a thing that it's like a machine. It comes, just grabs it, flips it up, and, goes right back into the truck, like dumps it right in there. So how, there's nothing illegal about that. I don't think there's anything illegal about that. Not at all. I want to talk about what's the process, though, because our guys, they don't get out of the trucks and grab our stuff and wing them in like old school days. Okay. So I'm just saying, how did it happen? I just want to know how it happened. How did the garbage truck come to and stop at this house and say, hey, how we're doing it this way is we're actually just grabbing your trash and putting it actually just in the vehicle, in the garbage truck, and I'm gonna just sit next to it over here, and then I'm just gonna drive off, right? Why'd they wait so long? Can I just ask another question? You guys got the name Bryan Kohberger on the 19th, right? You guys know that you have this DNA, and you're like, oh shit, but he's not in. No, it's not just like he wouldn't be in WSU. Nobody's there anymore. No one's in Moscow if he was a student there. Everybody goes home for the holidays. So it wouldn't matter who your killer was if they were a student. They're probably not going to be on campus when campus, it's the holiday. So regardless of like needing a, why did you wait till the 27th to go get the DNA? Well, because we had to wait till they put it out. Okay, so that would mean if you look at this, if you look at a calendar, if you go back to again, I don't know what days their trash picks up. We did a whole big trash episode. Where's New Orleans lady when you need her? Trash, New Orleans lady, okay? So basically they're like, well, we had to wait until it got put out. Christmas was on, okay, well, Christmas fell on a Sunday, so it kind of, thinking back on it, we actually got screwed. We always, whenever Christmas falls on like a Wednesday, like it's awesome. We get extra days. Whenever Christmas falls on the weekend, you get screwed. Come on, we know this as kids growing up. We get more days off. So they're like, fuck, we have to wait till the next day that's trash day. Um, I would agree with that. I totally agree with you, Heather. That's why I said I want to know how it all happened. I want to know how it all happened, and how are they going to okay, for example, Ann Taylor basically makes it known in her brief that we're literally objecting to all of this. So we're going to use this as a perfect example. A perfect example. How are you going to say that you obtained this DNA of his, to test it, to, you know, why did you, okay, this tip made you focus on him. So let's think about this. The 19th, you heard his name. Okay, that sounds great, Payne. Well, she's going to be objecting to, okay, well, how many other names did you heard at that point? What did you do when you heard their name? When you heard so and so's name? What did you go and do? Because she allowed it. Because I think she's going to get him with this. Okay, you were out collecting. You asked people, hey, do you have any issues with turning over your DNA? Right? And people provided that, right? Yes. But what did you do with it? When you got somebody's DNA, what did you do? Did you go running? Oh my God, I got to get this. We got to test this. We got to test this right now. The answer to that is no. The answer to that is you were just in the stages of information gathering, right? You just wanted to have it. Okay, yep, we got this. They consented to it. Okay, so, and how many people did you do that with? So why didn't you just go and interview Mr. Kohberger and ask him to submit DNA? If it was your practice to go when you got a tip, okay, hey, you should investigate this person, or hey, whatever the tip may be. What'd you do? Did you arrest people? Did you detain them? You went and interviewed them, right? Did you attempt to interview my client? No. Well, why not? That's what you've been doing the whole time. I mean, you know how wild that would be to the jury? Then Anne's going to sit here. Well, for starters, hoodie guy. You went and interviewed him, right? Did you ask him for DNA the first time? No. Okay. Who else? Jack DeCoro. His family wanted his hey, we want a lawyer, and we're not giving you give us the phone back. You didn't have consent. It wasn't like that. Blah blah blah. We want the phone. Okay. There was a 17-minute phone call, 16-minute phone call on Kaylee's phone. Where is that? So you get this tip. What'd you do with it? What'd you do with the tip? Well, we just started building probable cause to arrest him. You guys, this is wild. Like, you would go through what you did with all these other people. You were just in the information gathering stage, and then all of a sudden it just kicks into what? He was a criminology student. And we knew that somebody, what, cleaned up? I thought you said nobody cleaned up. You know what I'm saying? Like, we knew that somebody knew how to get in, get out, not be detected, blah, blah, blah. Every light's on in the house, right? Okay. Well, um, I mean, was Ann Taylor literally supposed to sit here and go, all right, I guess since you're going to allow this, Your Honor, um, we're gonna if we're gonna be here, this I'm gonna be with this witness for at least probably 7 days. Excuse me? Well, yeah, I'm going through every single tip from November 13th until December 19th. You're gonna do what? Absolutely. If this is admissible, then I have to sit down here with this witness and literally ask him about every single tip that he received and what was done about it. How would that garner more um, pull the tip to start investigating the defendant than any other tip that was going on between November 13th and December 19th or December 18th, however you want to look at it? Like, hello? You'd have to, Ann Taylor be like, well, Your Honor, I think I have 20,000 questions for this witness. What? I mean, wouldn't you? If Officer Payne thinks that he's going to get up there and he's going to say, "Yep, we received a tip on December 19th to look into the defendant," and so that's what we began looking into the defendant, right? Objection, and she's not going. Objection. Found lacks foundation. A tip. How are you receiving tips? Can you explain? Did that tip come in? What type of was it a phone call? Was it an email? Was it a confidential informant? Like, how can you combat this? Okay, so just tip. Well, how many tips have you received up to that point? So did you just put it in line with the app? Like, you're going through all these. Whose decision is it? Who's making the decisions to what tips to? Hey, it would be in tip 15,644. So where were you at that point? That's why Ann Taylor did not stipulate to say that was any tip to that point substantiated yet. That's how they thought that they could just bypass the whole process of, wait a second, I don't care if you got a tip on December 19th that had his name. You chose on December 19th to somehow fast track that we're going to bypass all of these other tips and we're just going to focus on this tip. Because what was everybody doing? Everybody else doing between December 19th and the date of the arrest? What were they doing? What were they working on? Well, you're the case agent, right, Mr. Officer Payne? Okay, so when the Idaho State Police would, who's deciding what tasks they're working on? Who's deciding what tasks the FBI is working on? Yourself, your people. Like they're totally skipping over foundation. And that's just how the fuck can you do that? It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. That's why I said it day one. I was like, how did you get to Bryan Kohberger? How did you get to him? How did you get to him? I said it was always going to be a problem because that probable cause still didn't tell me how you got to him. And in fact, then you go out and you write that probable cause up and it's just like, well, now you just totally fucked your own case because now everything's just inadmissible. You have one big inadmissible pile of shit. Okay. Remember the whole nexus? Like, what the fuck? Okay, so great. You have the name Bryan Kohberger. Okay, awesome. What'd you find out? That he doesn't have a record, right? Okay. What else did you find out? Did you go through any of the victims? Did you ask the victims if any, or the surviving roommates, if they knew a Bryan Kohberger? No? Okay. Did you check the victims' phones? All of their social media accounts? Were they friends with a Bryan Kohberger? Did you check your geofence? Was there a Bryan Kohberger in your geofence? No. From 3 to 5? No. Okay. So strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. Then what did you do? Well, when we looked him up, we saw he was a PhD student at WSU. Okay. When did he arrive? And then he got there in June. Okay. Did you call up his professors or anybody like on the 19th? Did you call up? Are you not allowed to do that? You're not allowed to give information out. Did you call him and ask him to come in for an interview? Did you send? You guys have been flying to what? Houston to go take the DNA to Houston. You guys were in Boise all the time. You went to Reno to interview Bethany, right? Why didn't you go interview Bryan? Maybe you can get a confession out of his ass. Who made the decision not to go interview him? Weren't you interviewing everybody at that point? Isn't that what you guys did? You cold called people up and said, hey, we're so-and-so with the blah, blah, blah. So for example, if we look at, you guys are doing neighborhood canvassing, right? You guys are just knocking on doors, right? Asking people stuff, right? Okay, so here. Between the dates, this is a supplemental 44 from the Idaho State Police. Between the dates of November 26th and December 6th, Detective Sergeant Tim Hopkins from the Idaho State Police District 6 Investigations Office and Idaho State Police Detective Derek Brown were assigned several tips to follow up on. Who assigned them those tips to follow up on? And conduct several interviews related to the tips is what it said. Okay. So, for example, tip number 1841 is requesting an interview of blank on November 27th, 2022. Now that'd be before you got the tip of Bryan Kohberger, right? Sergeant Tim Hopkins and Detective Derek Brown contacted and interviewed blank person about his knowledge of events surrounding the homicide. Blank told us the following. On the evening of November 12th and early morning hours of November 13th, he was hanging out at the corner club bar with several people, including Kaylee and Maddie. His girlfriend blank was also there. So he was, so that kid was in contact with them and knew them, right? You asked him if he was a drug dealer, isn't that correct? And he said he is not a cocaine dealer, right? And he provided you his phone number, right? Now, did you look him up on the system to see if he had any speeding tickets? No. Did you look him up to see if he had any seatbelt tickets? No. How did you make contact with this person? To call him? Did you just show up somewhere? How about tip 2673? Requesting an interview with this person regarding her interaction with the fellow law student. So you didn't go pull his trash, right? You talked to him, right? Every single person that you've ever had a tip with, right? On December 1st, we interviewed blank regarding how did you interview it? How did you interview this person? How were you interviewing people that were turned in with tips? Did they provide you a phone number? Did you have to look up this person? Like, how did you find out what their phone numbers were to even call them? On December 3rd, Detective Brown and Sergeant Hopkins interviewed blank over the phone. How did they receive that person's phone number? You said that you got my client's phone number off of a ticket that he had gotten. He filled out his phone number from a ticket. That's the only way that, I mean, didn't you look him up on the WSU website? Didn't he have an office phone? Did you attempt to call that office phone number? Isn't it true you had no interest in ever talking to my client? Because you already decided that he was guilty, right? I mean, it's crazy when you guys think about it, when you break all this stuff down. And the reason that you treated that differently is because of the type of tip that it was. And so you're going to sit here and tell me that Ann Taylor can't talk about that? And you think that a jury's not going to, like, how would you leverage that to play that in your favor if you are the defendant? How can you say to yourself, I want to be able to tackle this investigation and show that it's absolutely garbage, right? But I can't talk about anything that really went down in my case to the jury. Has anybody heard of that in their life? How can you okay, let's move on. You're going to be able to say, out of all the pictures that you took from the house in the apartment, nothing came back to the victims, right? Now, you had the opportunity to, you were in his apartment. Did you take out did you get into the drain? No. Why not? Why didn't you get all up in that shit? You went through a ton of what? All these devices, nothing, right? You went through his car, nothing, right? Glove box, nothing. Trunk, nothing, right? Now let's talk about his sub, right? You go to the 700s. It's right here. And remember, if the FBI had it in Pennsylvania, and then they personally brought it to Mowry, who does not remember it being hand given to him, as he testified. Wow. So Celebrate, first time we hear and see it in this log is S1 713. It says shutdown log. Then they're going to show a picture of the Cellbrite Wi-Fi log. Then they were going to show the artifacts, the network authentication, the SIM state manager, on disk activity snapshot, empty rows, the Cellbrite call log at 6:13, call log at 9. Like those are like 6:13, I believe, in the morning, and then at 9. And then a Cellbrite selfie. See, this is even more evidence. Okay, now ding, 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 right here. That's that morning selfie, guys. Proof, the way they labeled this, whoever had the Cellbrite is how that leaked to the media, right? Like I've been saying, the people, the Dateliners of the world, it all came from the Cellbrite. Because the Cellbrite turned up the, you can actually just like click on the item and then poof, the picture will appear. But that's how they're labeling it. Cellbrite Moscow PD image. I'm interested in that. Cellbrite full call history. Cellbrite Google Maps. And then you get into the lab reports. Let's look at this lab report 1. Everything to do with the sheath. Sheath side A, side B, the sheath side B top. Then it's A, the trace, then the trace on the strap, then the B side trace, then the B side trace bottom, the sheath with ruler in front of it, the ruler at the back, and the sheath front area swabbed. And remember, she got that wrong. Rylene, girl. Rylene. And that's the front. She got that wrong. And so what they were planning on showing is the sheath to the jury, okay? And then they were planning on showing then lab report 16, which is the Q-tips, okay? And the Q-tips is what belonged to Bryan Kohberger, and that's what actually well, the Q-tips from his swab then, when they arrested him on the 5th of January. Well, when they got him and brought him back, and then they did his swab on the 5th of January, I believe. Now, you know what I don't see here is with the Cellbrite stuff of what they were going to testify to. So they were going to testify to this shutdown log. And what I think that they were going to talk about is the fact that the phone was turned off. Wi-Fi artifacts Aruba. What's that? I'm going to look into that. Sorry, I missed that when I was reading them. Mental note. Okay, going back. Sheath. Then we get into all of the autopsy stuff, which is so hard to talk about. Gosh. Ethan had wounds to his inside of his left wrist, wounds to the top of his left hand, right hand palm up. They don't talk about wounds, but they're going to show a picture of that. Wounds to the top of right hand and fingers. So, um, he had an injury to his chest and throat area. He had a scalp wound on right side, scalp wound on left side center, wound near the left ear, wounds on the back of his left thigh. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Xana. Um, that's really interesting. Wounds and fractures to skull. So, what kind of fractures does she have to her skull? I, wounds to her palm and inside of left wrist, top of left hand and fingers, wounds to her top of left hand and wrist, left side of torso and head and arm, left arm, wounds to her knee, palm of her right hand, wounds to her tip of her right finger, or her right thumb rather, wounds to the thumb side of right hand and wrist. That was like really, really bad. You know, I think if you're trying to like grab something and you're being cut, if you're grabbing the knife, like it would be like a really big, unfucking believable. I mean, I would just think that somebody would be screaming. I don't know though. Like, to sit here and say that people didn't suffer is crazy. Wounds, wounds to blade area of right hand, um, right leg viewed from right, inside right calf, wounds to right side from head to abdomen. I mean, this is. I mean, I think the biggest argument with this is the amount of time. Um, like this is not getting in there in a minute and 30 seconds, and all four people are dead. You know, that's what I see. Um, from all the Maddie, wounds to face and neck from above, wounds to face and neck from right side, wounds to right eye area, wounds to left side of face, partial shoulder and neck from left, wound above left ear, wounds to neck and chest viewed from above, wounds to the left breast and chest, wound near a sternum and it held closed to show weapon imprint. What? Wound near sternum held close. Closed. Do you know what that means? Unbelievable. Close-up wounds to left shoulder, wounds to breastplate, wound to, that means that that's really deep. Palm of right hand, wound to top of left hands, injuries to top of left wrists, wounds to inside of left hand, inside, and forearm palm up. This is so sad. And then Kaylee's wounds with the fracture to the skull and the fracture to the skull from the inside cranium. I mean, yeah. I just feel like after reading this, it's it's for me even more like proof that like I just feel like Dylan wasn't even there. There's just no way. She'd be dead. Okay? If she does what she says that she does, she'd be dead off of all of this. You know? Um Series 2 goes into the audio and video exhibits and with these timestamps. So this is series 2. The 911 call is the audio, and now we can finally have it on record. 4 minutes and 8 seconds. And that's going to come into play. Mitch, okay. Right here, 11:59 to 12:08. That's your time frame in which a still image was somehow taken, and Mitch, this still image was somehow taken, and you were able to see the sheath. Now, when I did my research the past couple days, when I found out that Mitch was one of the officers who was involved in Stickergate and involved in burying dash cam, body cam, all that crap. And it was actually Gunderson that did the whistleblowing to say like, yeah, that stuff actually does exist. And Mitch like kept his mouth shut and wasn't out there telling the truth. I think it makes it more sus. That's all. So they were going to use his body cam just from 11:59 to 12:08, and then Eric's from Warner's from 11:58 to 12:06, and just like, because remember, Mitch was out and about. Eric leaves from the police department, and so when he turns his on at 11:58, his camera coming on in whatever seconds, he's leaving from the police department. Then Shane, his they're using, look at this, 12:30 to 12:31. What are you using that minute for? What's in that minute? They're not, so look at what they don't want to show. They didn't want to show that Gunderson was inside that house without gloves on. Okay. Then Ryan Snyder's body worn camera, they're going to use at 110. And I'm like, wait, what? Right? Ryan Snyder's over there wrote, so look at what they don't want to show. 110 is after Ryan Snyder takes all the pictures in the house. Okay. Capiche here? And then so what I'm able to go do is I'm going and looking and seeing, okay, what is going on with his body cam at 110? Like what portion of this is what they want? And the 1230 to 1231 body cam for Gunderson is just to show the dog. That's what I have. Is it's all about the dog. Okay. So again, let's look at this one more time here. Let me break this down. Okay. The 911 is the audio. Then it's Mitch Noonan's, and what they're going to do with that 1159 and 1208 is for the purposes of the sheath. Okay. Then Eric Warner, they have his 1158 to 1206. Shane not using anything from noon until 1230, but only using the part that's about the dog. I believe Warner's body cam is the body cam that catches also the dog on the bed. Next, Schneider. We'll go and find out what exactly they want to use at 110. Then they go to the corner. So that's it. That's it of body camera at the scene. Corbin Smith walking all trampling through it. Gunderson trampling all through it. John, the detective Lawrence. Okay. So no Corbin Smith. They're making it seem like that they just got in and got out. And they just shut down the scene. And nobody was in there. That's not what happened at all. So Ann Taylor would have to be ready on her exhibits here to be using other parts of these body-worn cameras to show what was really going on in there, and what they were doing in terms of trampling through the crime scene. Show Gunderson in there with no gloves on. Show the knife being not there on the ping pong table, and even when Hunter was in there, and then showing that somehow it miraculously gets there, as Hunter would have had to have placed it though. But that means where was it before it actually was on the ping pong table? Now they go to the corner club. They want to show probably the arrival at 10:20 to 10:47. They have different angles here. So camera 1, camera 3, and see how it's like that same time frame. So it looks like it'd be like the arrival on camera 3, and then it'd be what they were doing from 10:20 to 10:47. Then they have the camera from 10:47 to 11:36. Then the camera from 11:36 to 12:26. 12:26 to 1:15, 1:15 to 1:38, 1:34 to 1:37. And I bet you this is going to be talking one of these about Jack D and when he left. I have him leaving a little bit later. Again, Ann Taylor would have to be like up on it to have like the other stuff. Then they're going to go to the cafe and to be able to show them walking down from the corner club to the grub truck. Okay. So they have two different camera angles. They have the 140, and they're going to redact this. So that means they're not going to play the audio, is my opinion. And they're just going to show them physically walking with Jack S. But they're going to redact it, and they're not going to be playing the audio. That's my guess there. The bagel shop. that's how they're gonna use the record and affidavit of that woman. If they need her, then they're prepared to have her come and testify so that they can. This is how we got it. We got it from this woman. Bagel shop, same thing. There's an issue, as you can see here. The time is from 1:41 to 1:52. So wherever this bagel shop is, it's running continuous time in a camera, and it's the timestamp is just what interests me. That is it because it wasn't in the right time zone or something like that, or like whatever they're, maybe it's just a reminder to them when they're going to play the exhibit to go to this timestamp. The grub truck, no timestamp, redacted. 11122 King Road pre-search video. So that means pre-search warrant if they were outside and videoing, like around the house. That was before the search warrant. Pre-search also would be in the original condition. Like this is how everything was. And then when you're like looking through and seizing stuff, those are just my guesses based off of how this is labeled. Latah County Sheriff's Office public record affidavit, which is going to be how they got his ticket and stuff. Then Darren Duke, body worn, no timestamp. It's just audio is redacted per the order. You can see how late in the game they're bringing all this stuff in to give to the defense. Look at how late they fall in the Bates pages. 1,000 or 16,669. Look at where these fall in the AVs. Let's see. These numbers. AV, so 10 would tell me that they would have had that early on. Because I think she had from 0. Oh, I think they only had 001. I gotta go double check. Anyways, what else do we have here? Okay, so after that, the pre-search videos, you guys, that's just going through, like I said, that's the walkthrough with a video camera. Just like what I showed in the Brian Drake case. And I just redacted it myself. So that's all that is. It's Idaho State Police going through with like not like a body camera. Like it's actually like a video camera. Okay, where were we? Washington DMV public records affidavit. So they're going to show that he went to on 11/18 to get that license. Man, he was only there for 20 minutes. That must be nice. Floyd's cannabis business record. So they're going to be using the Floyd cannabis video camera. There's 2 cameras. 302 in 12 seconds and then 302 in 19 seconds. And they're both 18-second clips. Then they're going to show the 787 Indian Hills video on 11/13, 2022. They say it's at 3:25 a.m., but there's no timestamp on that one. I think there's going to be some problems with that, in my opinion. Then 755 to 3:26 and 42 seconds. The reason I think that's just wild, I said it the other night. I said those houses are right next to each other. How in the world is there that much time that the car is traveling between them? It's almost like it's bizarre, but it goes with what when me and Mark B have talked. It's like he's like, that car has to be going. It's crazy. That car has to be going like a couple miles an hour. And then this other area, it's like the car's going 90. And so Mark B, you got to be pretty excited to see that this is actually proving your methodology correct and how you did it. All right, so this would be Sunset Mart 328, no timestamp. That I see I have a problem with that. You guys, that's insane that they're not going to show a timestamp for that. That's ridiculous. Sunset Mart. Then at 9:13 a.m. That means, remember how they're talking about returning back to the scene? Okay. Is this what they were planning on showing? Is that they were able to see some car at 9:13, but yet none of the other cameras caught anything? It's pretty crazy. Then they're going to use the Ridge Road, the 329, like we've seen it from camera 1 and camera 2. Then they're going to show everything from Ridge Road. Then it'll be the 401. But this is what they use to identify. Okay, this 401, not the 329, but the 401 is what they use to identify and give it a chart. Then 320 Linda Lane. And they have the dumpster one for only one friggin' video. 329. And then they have no more timestamps they're going to be showing because they're literally going to try to have the jury believe that not both of their cameras, or they actually had 4 cameras, that the 4 cameras, only one was on the automatic everyday reboot, and it took 45 minutes to do every day. Because all I would have to say about that is I would use this to my advantage, and I would say that, well, who knew about this automatic reboot? Because then that's the only camera that's in that area that catches Taylor, like coming and going in that area. That's pretty crazy. And so think about this. That vehicle that's entering over there, if they were literally it was like 15 seconds. They made it by 15 seconds. If that vehicle would have been 15 seconds later, it wouldn't have been on the camera at 329 because it goes off at 330. So again, just whoa, what are the odds? Like, wow. Then the other 1112, again, I believe Ann Taylor, as she said it, she's objecting to all of this. And I think that she has pretty good grounds with the fact that this SD card, nowhere to be found, and that Mowry and the whole damn police department had access to this app and controlling it. And so that's 330 to 404, and then 404 to 430. Talk about everything leaking. Their whole entire case leaked. Linda Lane. These fucking people, man. Linda Lane 1330, the parking lot area. They're going to use from 330 to 331. Then they're going to use the 339 clip, the 356 to 357 clip, the 405 to 406 clip, and then the 407 clip. And if you look at all of this stuff, they were never going to be showing, okay, where's the DoorDash arriving? Where's the DoorDash clip? Like, Ann Taylor better have that, like, in their arsenal. Okay, they weren't going to point out when the DoorDash is dropping off the food and when the DoorDash is leaving, or when she's walking around. Um, they're not going to show that. They're not going to show the viewers that. They're going to just make the jury think that the only thing that took place are these movements by the state's case. So on cross-examination of the person that's going to be sitting there testifying to this stuff, we already know who's going to be doing that. And they have a PowerPoint presentation that they're going to show. Same thing that they did in the Dan Moore case. Okay. And it's like, you have to have all those other cameras. And when they're going to go and doing this stupid ass PowerPoint presentation, you need to be really solid on your cross-examination of that person to say, okay, let's go through this. And here we're going to stop at this point. And now you jump to this timestamp. What happened in between that? Well, let's go ahead and take a look at this. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. And that's not in your PowerPoint here. Well, don't you think it's significant that, because you would want to say the cars that are leaving, how do you know it's the same car that just arrived, especially on this 407 one? Okay. Linda Lane, look at, they're only showing 407. You're going to sit here and tell me that they were not planning on showing, oh no, here it is. 11, where's the King Road? Right here. Oh, 330 to 404, and then 404 to 430. Why is this broken up? Why wouldn't it just be 330 to 430? That's probably how they downloaded it. Actually, Ann Taylor doesn't need to have it then. They might actually just stipulate to this being in. Because what they're going to plan on using this part down here. Anyways, let's look at this Paradise. I'd be arguing right here. So 335, it catches it on the shop and then on the front door. And then the shop, but not the front door for the 343. And then the shop and not the front door on the 348. And their reasoning for that is they're saying that the car is making a U-turn and it's making a U-turn and it's traveling back down Walenta as to why it's not seen on the front door or the Ridge Road camera. Is because on both of those occasions, this miraculous vehicle didn't go either way and it just did a U-turn and went down Walenta. Do you know what type of intel that is? Do you have any idea what type of intel that would take? You would have to know if you could be seen on those cameras or not. How would you, what? That's crazy. Or there is actually video and they were fucked with. Because I can't imagine how they're going to, the question is it's interesting because they don't say, well, the reason that we think it's that the car has done a U-turn, okay, is because it only has two options when it's coming out Walenta. Is that it's a dead end and you either have to go left, which is going to take you down to Ridge Road to be on that 1125 camera, or you're making a right like you did before, and that's how you were on in the front door camera of Paradise when you have the 335 and the 335, because it's then heading down west on Paradise. So the reason that we believe that this car did a U-turn is because there is no camera footage at all on either one of these at those times. But that's not how they say it. They don't say it like that. They talk about, we believe that it did a U-turn because of some light that you can see. And I think my argument, the way that I would ask that question would be, well, you have the Ridge Road camera, right? And you have the Paradise Ridge. There's not a car that's going and being seen on that. Do you have Ridge Road from like 329 to 430 like you have these other ones to be able to eliminate that as a possibility? You know, you have to ask how they preserve that. Are these, because they seem like they're just continuously running. When you look at the Ridge Road camera, it's not like, it just seems like it's running. So I would just love to know what the answer to that is, because you'd want to show that, just like you're showing the 1112 from 330 to 404, and then 404 to 330 or 430. You'd want to have that available so you can say that yeah, the reason that we think that this car is the same vehicle is because on both occasions, after it does the one time going around, then it's making U-turns. And it's like, well, so that tells me that's somebody with knowledge of where cameras are in the area. Who would know that? Well, I know who would know that. Danny Vargas. Police would know that because police deal with other crimes, and when they're asking people if they have surveillance cameras. Gunderson says that he's like, and there's no cameras around here. Well, except for this, like, and then he points to that SD card when he receives it. He's like, there's no cameras around here. I think it's pretty interesting where these U-turns are happening, and that Linda Lane, at 3:30. Who would know that? Well, cops, if they're investigating a different crime that happened before that, right? And going over there to ask homeboy, hey, can I take a look at your cameras? Oh, we don't have, that's that time frame where it's always on that reboot. Oh, okay. Very bizarre. But noted, I just said that you would have I think that you would have this stuff and just show that there's no cars, but they're not doing it that way. That tells me that there's something wrong. ENS video at 526. So you're back over here on WSU's campus. Grand jury exhibit. Grand jury exhibits. So none of this was used in the grand jury. Well, what was used in the grand jury? Let's see. The Sunset Mart. Well, something's really telling here, though. So, ready for this? They decided against showing. They're using Floyd Cannabis's camera at 302 or whatever. Where's the one that was at 252 or 253 that on campus? 247, whatever time it was. They're not using that one. You know, that's what they used in the probable cause. They said there was a white car consistent with, SB1. Where's that? Huh. Interesting. They can't use that one. I mean, they can. I mean, Ann Taylor better use that one. It's not there. So they're gonna start off in with the Floyd at 302 and say that that's his car. When for the probable cause, they used a different video and tried to sync up the phone and the car at the same spot. So if Cyray's wrong, then why'd they take that video out? That's right. Why would you take that video out? That's like what syncs your phone and your car. It's the jury's not going to see that. The jury's not going to see the phone shutting off right after the car's being seen in that area. There it is. And it's because, oh, wait, that's not the car. The car is going to be over here. The question is if Ann Taylor was able to go through all those cameras and figure out which one was Bryan's and where did it, can you get any footage on its path of travel? But that would be like, all of that stuff would have had to been preserved. That's another one of the questions I want to ask is, how did you, all this time went by, when did you get these cameras? These ones right here. It was after 30 days. So they were just available after 30 days. A lot of stuff like that. Deletes, overwrites, whatever. I can't believe that none of the WSU people are on the how are they planning on getting this in? So WSU public record affidavit. You know how they were getting this in? You're going to sit here and tell me that they were going to use they were going to do it how they did in the Karen Reed case. From my understanding, the people that went out and got like these, I want to know. It's great that Costco is going to tell you, yep, these are accurate. It's during our regular business hours. But when was Costco approached? When was U.S. Chef store approached? Who approached these people to say, hey, can you look on your cameras and see this? You know what I mean? Like, when did this happen? I ask these people all the time if I can get something from them, like stores. Oh God, we don't have camera. Like, yeah, we have cameras, but when was that? Oh, that stuff's not saved. Well, this stuff will be way outside of 30 days for these stores. I just think it's crazy. And the purpose of it is, I think Ann Taylor's going to be over here objecting to the relevancy. What is the relevancy of the Costco in Clarkson's video and him rolling up at Costco? What is the relevancy of that? You think you're going to show him walking into Costco? I'm objection relevance. Well, we're just showing that that's his car and that's him. What? Didn't you do that with the Duke? The Duke shit? I don't understand what the relevancy is on any of these that are Costco, US Chef, Albertsons. How is that proving your case? How does that go to your case? Because of this, that helps. That's the probative value is what? There is none. What's the probative value in that? How is that making it more true that he committed that he killed people? What's the value? The only value that there is to try to get the jury in the heads of the jury to say that shit didn't even fucking phase him. And then he just fucking, it was just another day. That's what does it tell you? What is the media trying to push? That narrative, right? So, objection. There is zero. None of this proves and has, or in the slightest would help. And it's prejudicial, I think. I would be objecting to that. I would be objecting to everything. Just like she said just like she put down, Ann Taylor just comes in her trial brief and literally destroys them and says, it's great that you guys want to go to trial, but I will just be objecting to everything. So this is what I'll be objecting to, and this is how I'll be doing it. So it is expected that issues surrounding relevance, remoteness, and complete defense will be raised throughout trial. Proof of alibi, alternative perpetrators, and the exclusion of expert opinions due to the incomplete expert disclosures will be an issue throughout trial. In the various motions to compel, death penalty motions, suppression motions, and motions in limine filed with the court, many evidentiary issues have been raised. Such evidentiary issues include, and so she's like forecasting for everybody. She's letting everybody know that everybody thinks this is just going to be a couple months trial. Well, no, this is going to be like 6-month trial because I'm objecting to everything, is what Ann Taylor is saying. Let me just remind you guys that the entire case is a big evidentiary issue. Everything's, according to Ann Taylor, this is inadmissible. And so she brings up the inflammatory evidence. Then she mentions the exclusion of the experts because they did not, it's either vague, it's undisclosed, or it's improper. These expert opinions and expert disclosures have been the subject of several motions, including, and she lists all of this. And then she says, Mr. Kohberger awaits the court's decision on his motion to exclude expert opinions. And that got me thinking, and you know what? He didn't. Hippler didn't rule on some of that. Mr. Kohberger awaits the court's decision on the motion to exclude expert opinions due to incomplete expert disclosures. And depending on the court's decision to exclude late, vague, and undisclosed opinions, these will be ongoing issues throughout trial. Dude, this is like in their whole case. You guys, it's their whole case. Murder terms. The use of the word murder weapon, and similar forms of the word murder applied to Bryan Kohberger during the trial was the subject of a motion in limine. Mr. Kohberger understood the court's indication that the labeling Mr. Kohberger murder would be considered argument, and the proper place for argument is in closing argument. Mr. Kohberger is optimistic the case will be tried in accordance with the court's statements, but will be ready to object and follow with any appropriate motion to ensure his fair trial. Psychopath, sociopath terms. Inconclusive data. Data, however you guys say it with your accents. The inconclusive data, I think that's pretty much handled, but she's saying that 13.1, which was the fingernail scrapings underneath Maddie Mogan's fingernails, that was the subject of defendant's motion limine number 5. Mr. Kohberger has now reviewed the state's newest expert disclosure, and based on the work of both the state's and his own, he has been excluded as a source of DNA. So again, I find that now we see what was going on here. with some of these exhibits and these injuries. I think it. I think the fingernail scrapings is way more relevant than if she was just sleeping, right? For Maddie, I think those become way more relevant. Anybody agree with that? I think now we see why it was that while Maddie was sleeping. Mr. Kohberger, so testimony about the lab testing must comport with both experts reviewing the sample and opining that Mr. Kohberger is excluded. So Mr. Kohberger understands the state's position to now be that the evidence does in fact exclude Mr. Kohberger as a source of any DNA in sample 13.1. What the expert that they went and got is for, though, it's to say that the way that Idaho lab did the work was right. That's how they were going to use this expert. Just to like say that, well, there was nothing like wrong with how they did the work. Well, moving on to a touch or contact. Basically, any time that would be used, Ann Taylor and her team were objecting. Nobody is saying touch or contact. So get it through your skulls, goddammit. We are going to be saying nothing like that. Okay? Any reference to that is gone. Bushy eyebrows. The more I think about this is enraging, actually. Bushy eyebrows. Witness identification by bushy eyebrows is the subject of defendant motion in limine number 7. Okay. You guys, it is Dylan. It is Dylan saying that the person had bushy eyebrows. It is not Officer Payne's version of bushy eyebrows, okay? So I think what should have happened is that Bryan Kohberger's eyebrows should have just been shown to homegirl, okay, without anything else, and just his eyebrows, and asked if she thinks that these are bushy. Give her like a 6-pack of eyebrows, and maybe she can tell people which ones she thinks are bushy and which ones she thinks are not bushy. You know, because it's her and her only saying bushy eyebrows. What she believes is bushy compared to what I would say is bushy, or you or anybody. Okay. So the more I start thinking about this, it's actually fucking ridiculous. Because it was Officer Payne that was determining that Bryan Kohberger had bushy eyebrows. Based on the, probable cause evidence. It was, so Kohberger sought to bar witness DM DM from using the words bushy eyebrows or identifying him in that manner. He also sought to keep the state from acting as an identifying witness. Exactly. And identifying, see, and when she words it like this should make everybody's bell ring, right here. Bryan Kohberger also sought to keep the state from acting as an identifying witness by attempting to bolster DM's testimony with a photograph of Mr. Kohberger taken the morning of November 13th, and then arguing that it is their interpretation that the bushy eyebrows described by DM are consistent with those in the photograph. And that's what I'm saying. That's absolutely garbage. That is fucking that's insanity to me. Okay? That's like saying, Here's a picture of a girl. And do you think, is she fat, thick, skinny? What do you what do you think? Well, what I think in what that's insanity. That's fucking crazy. That's crazy to think that you tell me some fat fucking piece of shit just robbed me, okay? And I'm over here as a cop trying to find some fat ass, okay? And I'm like, oh God, well, what's that? You know, who I guess I gotta go find like some fucking 400-pounder. But they're over there like, no, man, like I say fat ass. That's just how I talk. Oh, I thought you really meant you want me to find some fat ass. No, but they're probably like bigger. But I mean, like they're not like 400 pounds. They're probably like 200. Oh, okay. Well, how tall are they? 6 foot. Oh, 6 foot 200. Okay, that sounds like, you know. Oh my God, his eyebrows, they were just bushy. Well, those are the only things that you could see. So basically, the person had eyebrows, okay? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous to talk about these eyebrows. I agree. It shouldn't be used. It shouldn't. And this was the way to argue it. And Ann Taylor, maybe she just failed in her argument. But, geez. Because, well, I guess we'll just have to drill Dylan some more and say, Dylan, you went ahead and just looked up the guy that was arrested. And you were like, God, those eyes, nothing rings a bell. I was expecting to get like, oh my God, that's him. Holy shit. Right? And you didn't get that, did you? Nope, didn't. She wasn't even shown a picture to say, like, would you consider these bushy eyebrows? But the state didn't want to ask those questions because the state knew what answers they would get, which would be, no, I don't think that those are bushy. You know? Dude, they put on the stand in the Scott Peterson, Lacey Peterson trial. They gave the sister a pants lineup. Hey, here, I'm going to give you 3 different pairs of pants here. What type of style of pants was your sister wearing? Were they long, black? Were they the capri? No shit. And this, like, they did this. Wild. Should the court allow this testimony procedure? Mr. Kohberger will object during trial. Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation. Objection, Your Honor. That's an opinion. Your opinion. It's argumentative. What the fuck? It's argumentative. How do you even ask somebody that? So, Miss Officer Payne, when you took a look at Bryan's, driver's license photo, what'd you think? Oh, well, I looked at his height and I said, okay, he's within the height range of what Dylan Mortensen stated in her witness interviews. Okay. What else did you think? I took a look at his picture and I thought, wow, he has really big bushy eyebrows. Objection, Your Honor. Move to strike. What the sidebar, Your Honor? Are you kidding me right now? Oh shit, Your Honor, I'm gonna object before the question even comes out. Can we sidebar it here for a second? I know where this is going, and I just want to put my my objection on the record. If he's gonna be asking about, he saw Bryan Kohberger's ID, and he said, "Yep, those look like some bushy ass eyebrows." Once you take the toothpaste out, there's no putting it back in that tube, Your Honor. So what kind of tube steak are we eating here? You know, I don't want all this white stuff all over my tube steak. So can we not get the toothpaste on my tube steak? Thanks. It's just ridiculous. This is no, I'll allow it. You're gonna allow Hippler? No, I'm gonna allow him to say that those are bushy eyebrows? How? Like how? How can you let him testify to that? Well, I'm sorry, Detective Payne. Were you there the night of the murder? So you didn't see the person, right? You didn't see the person in the house or the eyebrows, right? So what are you comparing them to, Detective Payne? Are you comparing them to who? What? Ridiculous. Yep, they're big bush. Okay, what else are we doing here? Oh, we're gonna make sure that we do not bring up that cell phone information about Bryan taking his sister's cell phone. And they haven't disclosed anything else that they're going to talk about. So, moving on. Okay, Amazon. Well, we're going to object to everything with Amazon because it's ridiculous. But more importantly, Amazon click activity. We're excluding Amazon evidence, purchase history, and Amazon click activity, collectively Amazon evidence, was the subject of defendant's motion limine. Well, excluding Amazon click activity evidence at trial. The state's methodology in obtaining, using, and producing Amazon evidence has been called into question by Mr. Kohberger, who contends that this evidence should be excluded. The methodology. To the extent that the court allows this evidence, Mr. Kohberger must be able to present expert testimony of David Howell to provide a complete defense. Based on the court's ruling that this evidence will not be excluded at this juncture, Mr. Kohberger will confront the evidence through expert testimony. He will also object to any expert opinion testimony by Mr. Shane Cox because he's not a fucking expert, nor is S.A. Michael Douglas, as the state claims that they are lay witnesses and not experts. So who is testifying to the Amazon? Well, guys, we just went through what we've been going through. I have yet to see where these exhibits. Let's see. Pullman. Okay. Yeah, about that. Amazon. Here we go. We have Amazon records, subscription and order history records from 1/5/2022 to 12/13/2022. It's in Excel. Then we have Amazon certificate of business records. We have Amazon records, which is subscription, click activity, sign in history. Okay. No presentation though. There's like a little PowerPoint. Don't see that. So nobody whipped up a PowerPoint? Yeah, I object. I object to any of these assholes thinking they're going to talk about Amazon. Okay, what's next? Well, let's talk about investigative genetic genealogy. Investigative genetic genealogy evidence has been the subject of at least 6 motions. 6, count them out. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. 6. The state's methodology in obtaining, using, and producing IgG has been litigated through discovery and motion to compel, and finally through a motion to suppress. Mr. Kohberger learned of undisclosed discovery during the suppression hearing and was refused access. As such, Mr. Kohberger contends that the IgG evidence should be excluded because he could not fully understand and litigate the issues. At this time, the state has agreed to proceed without use of IgG evidence and introduce evidence of a generic tip. Is Ann Taylor having second thoughts? I said, interesting. Where is it though? Both sides are working towards an agreement upon special jury instructions on the tip evidence to avoid speculation by the jury as the source and nature of the tip. I said, interesting. I said, leaving a lot on this bone, the way that she's wording this. And that's just it. And that tells me, I'm like, there was a bang coming. I think that they were going to say that after further review of everything, there's no way that we can stipulate to this, because we're unable to properly defend Mr. Kohberger by lying to the jury on how they got to our client. So we don't feel comfortable with that. There was something in the works like that happening, as per my words here, that there's a lot left on the bone that Anne wants to say here and didn't say it in this portion about that. I don't see how you can I think that was a huge mistake. But I see trying to walk some of this back and also saying the fact of, well, fucking hey, Mr. Kohberger learned of undisclosed discovery during the suppression hearing, which he did, and was refused access. As such, Mr. Kohberger contends that the IgG evidence should be excluded because he could not fully understand and litigate the issues. But what he meant, I think, also by that is if you're going to exclude IgG, that means that the sheath would go with it. Because if you're excluding IgG, that's the sheath. Vehicle identification. I think Elisa Mathis should have been doing all of their arguing, by the way. I would have been telling Hippler, I don't give a... You're going to listen to me. You're going to... Yeah, I don't care. You roll your eyes, put your hands all over your face. You're going to listen. And you're going to like it. And you can go ahead and say whatever it is, whatever your ruling is. But I need to get my shit out there. And you're really cramping my style. Okay? Are we okay here? Hold me in contempt. I don't give a fuck. But I'm going to speak, and I'm going to speak the way that I intend to and in the order that I want to. That's how I always saw Anne just getting cut off like before she even talk, like whoosh. So the vehicle exclusion of the state, referring to all surveillance footage they intend to offer as suspect vehicle number 1, was the subject of defendant's motion in limine. Well, then I would have argued it like that. I would have argued it like that. I don't think that that's how the argument went, you know? But maybe it was. But she's making it very clear here that, listen, all these videos that you think you're going to introduce, like they are, if you go through this list, they're going to sit here and say that, yep, that's Bryan's vehicle. Yep, that's, SV1, 1111, through everything. Okay? And so what she was saying is that we don't want you to use the term suspect vehicle number 1 for all of this shit. Make and model. So Mr. Kohberger sought to exclude this evidence pursuant to specific rules of evidence and based on his federal and state constitutional rights. His motion was not directed at the testimony of the state's expert. He can opine on what he thinks the make and model is, but rather to exclude the state from arguing and other witnesses from saying that all depictions of vehicles were the same vehicle. And she's right on that. And I'll tell you why. But then they have a problem, I think, on introducing it. Because it all boils down to how were the experts given the material to sort out what, hey, I want you to look at some material and tell me what vehicle this is. Okay. So you give me a clip and I tell you what I think, right? How can an expert how can somebody that's not an expert be the one that's determining what clips to give to the expert? Wouldn't you want to just give the material whole to the expert to say, this is the surveillance cameras that we have in the area? Okay. This is the time frame from 3:30 to 4:30. 1112. Here we go. These are the cars that are coming and going from 3:30 to 4:30. Okay. And then after 1112, we have this Linda Lane area. Okay. Here's these. Then if we go outside of that grid a little bit more, we have these, these Ridge Road and these 451 Paradise, wouldn't you be sitting down with an expert and saying, like, but how would you do it? That's how somebody would do it if you're on the up and up. But if I wasn't on the up and up, right, then I can't do it that way. But Ann Taylor was going to destroy Immel for one reason only. He made no identification of any vehicle from 1112. None. So I don't give a fuck what car is over there at this time. I don't give a fuck what car is over there at that time. And then I would be showing, okay, the cars that are leaving. How do you know the car at 408 or 407 when it parked? You can't even tell me what car left when it was Molly McMichael. What car did she leave in? You got her phone leaving? Is it leaving the area? I mean, shit, the DoorDash, why don't we have Molly's? Why aren't Molly's DoorDashing records in here? Why is it just what was delivered? Why is it just the address? Why aren't they getting Molly's orders? I'd be one. Well, because Ann Taylor didn't think Molly had anything to do with this and didn't think Molly was, a question mark on why the fuck, what's going on? Why was a DoorDash driver there for 15 minutes right during the murder time? I have no idea what's going on. She didn't look into Molly McMichael right there at the end. She wanted to know everything about Molly McMichael at the end. I really thought that Ann Taylor was watching Translucent to get all of her scoops. She should have been. I'm kidding. Translucy. I'm just going to get silly now. Now my attention span's gone. This is some bullshit. What is up? Marsha, what'd you say here, girl? Thank you, Lana. Thank you. 24 months. Marsha, what's good, girl? She's gifted memberships like left and right. Nicole, $10 super sticker. Thank you so much. Nicole. Tony, $1.99 hollering everywhere. Tony, turning somebody green as well. Donna, Lana, we have to go easy on Thompson. He's only on trial. Oh, yeah. He's a plea dealing motherfucker. What are you guys having for dinner tonight? Who made pot roast? I did. I'm gonna go grab a bowl and eat while I talk. What happened to the green Elantra? Does that still count? What happened to the green Elantra? Well, the green Elantra is still there. I think I would have one question only. Well, you knew early on in the investigation that Jack John Showalter, I think maybe it's John Jack Showalter, but he goes by Jack Showalter, hoodie guy. Mm-hmm. You know who that is, right? Okay, is that right? Good. Well, you knew out the gate that he drove a black BMW. Isn't that correct? Okay, perfect. And so why would you continue to, I don't know, look into Jack John Showalter if he had a black BMW and if you were so on the 11/19, 11/21, 11/25, 11/26, you're over here talking about it being a 2014 or 2011, 2016 car, and then potentially narrowing that down to 2014, 2016 white Honda Elantra or a light colored one. But then you also said there could have been like 6 or 7 different charts, right? Was a black BMW one of those on the chart? I'm just trying to figure out why you would still be interested in Jack Showalter. Okay. If you're interested in a white Elantra and that the killer is driving a white Elantra. Isn't it true that you thought more than one person could be involved? You thought maybe Cole and Jack Showalter did this together? And then you were trying to figure out what kind of car Jack Showalter drove? Or not Jack, but Cole. And he didn't have a car though, right? He like takes the bus or some shit like that. How does he get to work to Big Five if he doesn't have a car? He buses it every day? Are you sure? I mean, how do you know this motherfucker wasn't lying to you? Let's talk about some guy that had a white Elantra that lived right over there at 1125 Ridge Road. How about him? You know, common sense would tell you that. Did you not think too much of the white Elantra? If you're fucking chasing down Jack Showalter like crazy person, and you know that he has a black BMW. I mean, you guys put like 3 or 4 cops like, tailing that motherfucker out in Boise from like December 2nd until like, I don't know, like you did a couple days out there. Then you did another interview with him on like this, I think it was the 6th of December, the 7th of December. And then that's when you finally were like, okay, we're going to put on a bolo for this white Elantra. It's after you did your second interview with Jack Showalter. Well, then I have another question. Why in the world did you go and get his timing advanced records? You wanted additional ones in 2024 in April for extortion. Potentially, how can you extort dead people? How do dead people extort living people? Can we talk about that? Nick Balance. This is Tina with What the Fuck Translation Services. What the fuck do you think you're up to? Nick Balance, let's take a look at what you did. You are the biggest piece of shit I know. You are a liar, Nick. Just say it. Just come out. It's okay. Come out of the closet. Okay, so what else are they going to use here? We got some maps here. I'm going to object to the Lewiston and Clark map. I mean, is that for like high school, like history class? I object to the Lewiston and Clark map. I object to every map that's not to scale. I want the jury to drive around the area. I want the jury to go inside the house. Oh, wait, they can't. I want the jury to go into the 3D diagram. Okay, Dylan Mortensen's phone record summary. Can we talk about that? Was going to be an exhibit, was the summary of the phone. And look, it was a grand jury exhibit. Oh, let's take a look at that. Ready? Tell me more. Oh, Dylan Mortensen, 12:10 a.m. to 104, but it's the grand jury exhibit 18 that you guys are going to use. This is the one that had, look at that. Yeah. That had nothing good on it, did it? There we go. Look at that. So it didn't have like the saving a number at 351. How many steps do you think were on their phones? Where's that on here? I just want to point that out. So if we're going to talk about people's phones and shit, right? Dylan's, Bethany's phones, record summary. Bethany Funk text message summary. Jack Decor phone record summary. Jack Decor text message summary. Where is anybody's steps? Where is their health data? Nobody. Kane B, what's up, my man? Summaries. Summaries of what? Look at this. Dude, where is any health data? What is going on here? This is the state. This is the state. The state is not confident in the health data. The state is not confident in the locations of these two witnesses. They were not planning on even talking about them as proof of anything. How can we get proof that they are where they say that they are? Don't you think a jury is going to question where they're at when they see these, I don't know, wounds to these victims? And to say, wait, they just slept through that? Oh, wait, no, they didn't because they were texting through it. But then Dylan's just out running around looking all over, right? And the killer sees her. She sees the killer, but he just says, "That's okay, girl. I'm out. I'm tired. You might be calling the police, so I'm going to leave." And then Dylan doesn't call the police. What about, let's see, Corner Club, death certificates. Okay. Toxicology. Yeah. Oh, here we go. What is this? AT&T. AT&T regarding timing advance records for 11/12 to 11/13. That's going to be in general. AT&T advance records regarding, okay, that's going to be Bryan Kohberger's. Historical certificate. I don't know. What is this shit? AT&T records, Maddie. AT&T records, Xana. Cast PowerPoint summary balance. Summary. Oh, Nicholas Balance with the summary here. Oh, there it is. 31. We object to Exhibit 31, Your Honor. Can we have a sidebar? I want to avoid dear Nicholas Balance. We object to all of these. Everything with AT&T. Let's just bring his ass in here. So Indian Mountain Lake businesses, Strava, 119 Lambston diagram of the house. I guess that's really important to find out where everything was. The jury. Target, the Palouse Mall certificate of business records. Like, what's that? What was going down at the mall? Meet me at the mall. It's going down. The mall business hours of business operations. So do we have surveillance camera from the Palouse Mall? Like, what's this? They're going to really use his crime scene scenario. Amazon, like I said. Target, Marshalls, Pennsylvania State Employee Credit Union. Again, I would be objecting. I don't know the relevancy in any of this. How do his financials have anything to do with this? And even Hippler said, I don't know where that becomes into being relevant. Mimi at the mall. Tenderloin and onion rings. Oh, who's having that? Yeah, let me check off my brownies. My brownies went big. Okay. Let's take a look, see. I'm sure they won. We were playing the Dolphins. The Browns, 31-6. What a game. 31-6. All right. Fuck yeah. What a big blow. We're 2-5, guys. Look out. We're gonna turn around. We're gonna turn around. Cryptocurrency. God, what the hell have you been doing, Bryan? Dick's Sporting Goods. Marshalls. PNC. PayPal. Jesus. Maybe Jack Showalter was extorting Bryan. PayPal records for account ending in, okay. They went all the way to February of 2023. I think it was probably going to show that like nobody else used that PayPal. You know, if they're going to talk about like some family account or something like that. The Target, Under Armour, Venmo. God, Venmo. Funding source record. Interesting. Venmo. Again, I have no idea what the relevancy is in this. Walmart. Reno. Do you guys see this? Reno and Moscow. That would be Bethany. Unless Bryan Kohberger was in Reno. When the fuck? What is going on? Have you guys gone through this yet? Look at this. This is pretty interesting. This like what? Were they really trying to find a connection here? God, Avia, wow, 252. They didn't give this to them until way late. Look at that. Oh my God, look at that. Oh, Douglas. Financial transaction summary. Amazon purchase summary PDF. Yeah, he can sit there and read off these purchases, but that's all he's saying. Blood stain pattern analysis PowerPoint. There it is. Boom. You're going to need somebody to talk about this, and it's from the state and whatever they're going to be saying. But Amanda Kohberger interview transcript. Let's see how many pages. 10, about 28 pages, not that long. Latent fingerprints, latent prints. That's on item 1. Fingerprints, DNA, item 6. Okay, maybe Idaho State Police will now release all of the lab reports so we can know what all this is for, what each number is for. We need more information for that. Which way was I going? That's a good place to end for today. That's a good place to end. I should do a double feature. They had fucking nothing. They had absolutely nothing. Exactly. And they got it all so illegally. They just lied. They lied about it. They lied about it. People wanted to know about print exemplars. Emily Hunter, John Showalter. See, okay, right here. Connor Chestnut. I will say it one last time. Who the fuck is Connor Chestnut? And no, he's not the urologist. This is somebody that they are trying to eliminate. And so Connor Chestnut, I'm interested in who that is. If you do a double, I'll be there. These injuries are horrific. I don't believe that he should have been able to plea because of these injuries. So, also, every light in the damn house was on, guys. Bottom line, every light in this place was on. Every light. Like when I say every light, nobody went, that even makes Molly's version of events even worse. Molly saying she couldn't find the place. Every light. 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 Orange lights. Nobody would say, hey, I'm going in now because it is dark. Everybody's asleep. That's your... Kaylee's room was dark. Everything else was light. Light as fuck. Light. Every light. Light. Every single light was on. Crazy. All right, guys. See you on the next one. Appreciate you. Over and out. Enjoy your dinner. Thank you, moderators. Thank you, subscribers, members. Oh, if you haven't seen, go check out. I'm going to be editing, so check out some new updates, some new videos. Peace out, Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. Go Ohio State.